are live. Welcome to Short Convos. Me as Miralai and Mr.
JC, Warrior of Light Cashman. Welcome to our show. What episode are we on, Az?
We are on 25. We didn't even mention that last week was 24 when we had Claire on.
That's partly why I mentioned it. I noticed it last week
yeah.
Post to post, the posting of the post.
We should start there because I thought that was an interesting topic. Lucky numbers. Or numbers in general.
Could we come back to that, actually? I feel there's more of a pressing thing I want to bring to this. I've come with pure intent. And have you watched the David Attenborough, A Life on Our Planet?
I have not.
Okay, I'm telling you, the next thing you do is to watch that. Whether it's, after work later or however it works, you have to watch it.
This evening. I'm assuming Netflix is where I'm going.
Netflix is where you're going. Are you following him on Instagram?
I'm not, but I've watched all of his stuff up till then. So Planet and Earth and Deep Sea and all of that stuff. So
follow on Instagram. This documentary is he's called it his witness statement, and we can catch up more on it next week if you like. Every single person everywhere needs to watch this. It needs to be shown in schools. I'm just really passionate. It's one of the best documentaries, informative documentaries I've ever seen. The guy is a treasure to the human race. And it's not all about, and here is the centipede. It's not all about that. It's purely his witness statement, as he says, of what he's seen. He's like 92, 93 years old of what he's seen. And, facts and everything to where it's going. So sorry to interrupt there, but
no, you're good. I'm assuming that means in terms of our impact on this planet and the damage that we're doing to it.
Yes, more so. Like I want you to watch it and then we can talk about it. I'd like to
next week for sure. I'll have it watched by next episode so we can get into it.
It's just a topic I think we should be talking about for sure. But yes, let's go with what was it? Numbers, lucky numbers.
Lucky numbers. Since, last week was episode 24, and I don't know if we've ever mentioned it because you've never gone by too fast for you on here, but 24, I believe, is your lucky number.
Yes. Well, 24, I suppose it's an identity number. It goes back, I couldn't even put a year on it, actually. It goes back to the late 90s. My dad bought a car magazine and it had a bumper sticker on it, like the Do You're Up car magazines. It had a bumper sticker on it that had Too Fast For You written as the word 2, the word fast, the word 4, and the word you.com. And I got it put on a fighting suit, Too Fast For You, and it seemed to stick. And people started referring me as Too Fast For You. And then good friend Corey Kane, he came up with an idea of a logo, 24, abbreviating it to that. And his point of view was like creating an identity. And for instance, Michael Jordan is known as 23, isn't he? He's basketball number. And it stuck. So I suppose for me, 24 is an identity number. If I had to pick a lucky number, that predates 24 as well. 8 is also my lucky number. So 24 and 8 are the numbers that I play with. You?
Any reason on 8, or is it one of those things that occurs in life?
It's not an occurring. Well, that number 3 is also a recurring thing. We've spoken about that in the previous episode. And number 8, I suppose my birthday is the 8th of June. I think that might where it originally comes from. And I believe in Chinese or Eastern culture, 8 is known as a lucky number. I think number plate 8 was sold for some billion yen or whatever it was back when.
Crazy money.
Yeah. You?
Lucky number or number that I like to focus. Well, it's 1. It is 1. I like the number 1. I like the mentality attached with coming first and being first and being number 1. So I try to ingrain that number in a bit more. In terms of a number that I'd say 5, and I couldn't tell you why. But 5 is a number that just turns up in my life all the time. There's always 5 or something, or, they say things come in 3. For me, things tend to come in 5s.
Okay.
I don't know why. So I'm expecting 5 kids in the next 5 years and stuff like
Yeah.
that. That's how stuff will end up going.
You better get busy then.
Better get busy. It's all right. Twins and triplets. It'll be done. Done
Yeah,
in 2.
cool. And do you find yourself, you say like number one, so obviously the number one spot on a podium, that sort of mentality, but do you find yourself drawn to doing things in a certain way? So, like, for instance, we spoke about it before, but like my theory of 3, I find myself always drawn, like when I'm goal setting, breaking things down, explaining things. I always find I'm drawn now subconsciously, it was more of a conscious thing, but now subconsciously, to making things in 3s. And we went to the petrol station yesterday and I had the choice of all the pumps. So I go to pump number 1. If number 1 isn't available, I go to pump number 8. Do you find yourself drawn to that kind of thing?
Yeah. So that's a big part of it is I certainly used to ramble too much and then I'd get lost in choice. So I read this book and it was called The One Thing. And it's a short book and it tells you about focusing on one thing at a time and simplifying things. So that's a big part of where the 1 comes from. So yeah, again, petrol station, I always aim for 1. If I can't have 1, it's 2. And I move my way up from there. And yeah, it's minimizing choice is a big thing. It's like if I get a choice of 3 things and I'm here or there on all of them, I just go for the first choice.
That's interesting.
I find it useful.
I've never thought of that before in a minimalizing kind of technique way.
Yeah.
What do you feel? You feel like, for instance, there's too much choice or you're too overwhelmed because of choice?
I think in general, there is now too much choice. And I think we get unhappy when the choice is too broad. So for example, you got to go and buy something on Amazon and it's something generic. I'll give you an example. Recently, we had to get those infrared thermometers to check temperatures. You type it in on Amazon and you'll get 100 different results. All of them basically are the exact same thing, but you can't help but start going through and comparing and trying to figure out which is the best bang for your buck one. But the reality of it is they're all the same. And I think then your whole choice thing, that whole mechanic can be you can end up spending a lot more time on something than you need to. Whereas if you just go, right, I'm just going to pick the number 1 rated one, and that's the one I'm going to pick. And it just takes the time out of it and it takes the questioning out of it. And if it turns up and it's rubbish, you return it and you get the number 2 thing and kind of operate it that way rather than pondering for ions and ions.
Very, very logical way of putting it. Do you find very you have any other kind of relationship to numbers? Because I didn't think we would talk about numbers today, but it makes me think about different relationships with numbers.
I don't know if your thing was on purpose. Your outfit choice for today.
No, well, it is. We were talking about sports, weren't we? And this is 49ers. My brother's 24 has a bit of a resonance through my life as well. My brother's American football number was 42, hence the 42 T-shirt. But it actually refers to the great 49ers corner, Ronnie Lott, who was a player back in the day. So yeah, my fighting number was 24. My brother's was 42. And there was no reason for that. It just happened. I had my first daughter, Cece, when I was 24 in 2004. And yeah, there's a few. I think you can sort of make it up, can't you? You can sort of look at these things and
you can find it, can't you?
Yeah.
But I think it's still a nice thing. Like I know I am Mr. Ones and Zeros, but I still appreciate stuff like that. I think that's still a nice touch, especially now. CC is too fast for you as well. I think it works. It operates.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is, do you have a connection with numbers? For instance, my wife has always had a thing about even numbers. And Cece's actually gone to another level with it. And the radio, for instance, the volume on the telly always has to be on an even number. And then it goes even more OCD, not necessarily with her, but I know people, like a watch with a dial. The watch dial always has to be in the right place. So are you that OCD with numbers?
I am, but completely unconsciously. And it's not like if you put the TV on 17, we were sitting there. I wouldn't be sitting there like getting an itch to put it 16 or 18. But if you gave me the remote and let me put the volume, it would go to an even number. And that's just automatic. So, and same, I'm very similar with things like dials and resetting things straight and all the rest of it. But if it was someone else, or if it was somewhere else and things were not on the dial, I don't tend to let it affect me so much. So I don't know if I'm there with it, but in my own mind, yeah, there's a default place and number and time for things. I like to get it there. And I don't think that's OCD. I sometimes really don't like that word, because I think it's just having your shit together. I don't know if OCD is how far I would say I take it. I think when people call me OCD, I'm like, no, I just like things organized. I just like things in their place. If you like things in a mess, fine, get on with it. But yeah, I don't consider it OCD.
Because I don't know why it's triggering off in the head, but Ian, our Wolfpack manager, he has a rucksack whenever we go away, and he never zips it up. It's always unzipped, and it like drives me mad. Like, I don't get crazy about numbers. Like, I can survive. Like, I will have the volume practically, as in, if it needs to be on 7, it's on 7. But I do also find I do the evens just to keep everyone else happy. But yeah, for instance, he's never lost anything. Nothing ever drops out of it. But just things like that, it's like I couldn't bear walking around with a rucksack under.
No, that's a nightmare to me. And I would have to, I would probably have to say something. Like, if I saw someone walking around with their rucksack undone, I would probably, and I'd be thinking I'm being a good Samaritan by doing it. I'd be letting them know that their bag was open. And if they turn around and went, oh, I know, then I'd be bothered. I'd be like, what do you mean? What do you mean you know? You're just cool with that? Just being open? Like, that zip is purposely designed to be closed right now.
To be functional.
We need to have a word with Ian. That's dysfunctional behavior as far as I'm concerned.
And then, well, numbers is a fascinating thing, really, isn't it? Like, where did all that come from?
Well, as in the whole thing of numbers?
Yeah. We're not even talking A's and B's here. We're talking just 1s and 2s. Did that come before literature, before the written word?
I don't know, and I would assume not, because I think what we've used numbers to do is to gain an understanding of our physical universe, and to be able to communicate our physical universe in words, because we'd be able to say the world is big, the sky is big, but we then needed to be able to quantify things. So how big is it? And how do we then compare that to something that's smaller? So I think that's the origins of numbers. It's a higher level of communication, because animals communicate, and they can communicate with sound. They can make certain sounds to attract a mate or to warn off predators. So I think it's a high level of communication when you get to numbers, because you're then quantifying things, measuring things. And now we're using it to bring things out of the imagination into the real world. We're creating theories based on mathematics and numbers, and then making real world science from these numbers.
Well, it isn't, like we were talking before, just a screen like the Matrix, just 1s and 0s.
Well, yeah, we kind of technically are, because if you take it right down to atoms, they're positive and negative. So they are protons, electrons, neutrons. They basically are 1s and 0s and ons and off switches. We're just a very complicated collection of 1s and 0s and binary. And if you look at DNA is just 4 different letters, and then it's just transcribed and put in. It literally is a code. You could write it out, and I think they have fully programmed the human DNA into a computer. So we've got the full written code of what it is to be a human, and we know all the changes you'd have to be to make it a chimp or to make it a frog or whatever it might be. The whole Jurassic Park thing of making the dinosaurs. So yeah, I think maths is just a very advanced understanding of what we are, and I guess it's what really separates us, or one of the things that hugely separates us from the other animals.
I'm going to do a little research on. I've written it down on numbers for next week. I would like to bring that back.
Bring that back. Yeah. Because I know you've always had a fascination with numbers, or maybe not even a fascination, but you certainly notice them, don't you? Like
Yes.
you tend to pick up on them. And I think when you tell me stuff like dates, I've probably got loads of those in my life, but I've never paid attention enough to ever pick them out. But I guarantee there's some numbers and dates where I go, oh, wow, I didn't even realize that lines up the way it does.
That way, this way.
Yeah. So I like that. I don't know where that comes from in you. I don't know if you know where that started or anything, or if that's just the way you're wired.
This conversation has really opened some doors of thought. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go away. Otherwise, we're gonna have quite a silent contemplating and Google
no, you got some
searching.
stuff to think about.
yeah. I've never really overthought into. I've obviously observed it, like we've said, with volume and things like that, and my own numbers and reference, but never thought more than that.
Yeah, well, if anyone is in the comment sections of these things, please tell us some stories about numbers, because this has been an interesting one, trying to figure out what's going on.
Ones and twos, threes and fours.
Ones and twos, threes and fours.
And well, we haven't really had the catch up. We haven't said for a couple of weeks. Well, how's things been? So, how's your week been, or week's been as?
Everything's been fine. I've got to say, and I can say this on the podcast, I miss your physical presence, JC.
Oh, thank you. Likewise.
We were discussing it the other day, and I haven't seen you since March or April in person. But obviously, we have spoke pretty much every week since. But I said to someone the other day, I just kind of miss hanging out with him in the physical space. And I've noticed that with a couple of people who, maybe I don't see them often because, like us, for example, we don't live in the same area. So we don't see each other a lot at the best of times. But there's a lot of people now where I just don't physically see them, but we text or we're on social media or we have a FaceTime call. And it's just not the same, is it? I mean, it's very close to being the same, and it's great that we can do this. It's the other day I cooked with my dad on FaceTime. So I was cooking in my kitchen. He was cooking in his kitchen. We had a conversation. It was really nice. But it's still not quite the same. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what the differentiating factor is between me and you having a conversation in the same room and having a conversation like this, that I would feel there's like a deficit between the two. There's a difference.
I don't know if you want to hit the bell, but like when we got back to the dojo from lockdown, I'll be honest, I was really enjoying the Zoom. I know you didn't particularly enjoy the Zoom from a practical point of view, but I was actually enjoying the fun that I was having with the kids and that. And when we went back to the dojo, it was like, Zoom was fun, but this is how it should be done. And we're not even, making contact yet. We're not even hitting pads and that. So, I completely get where you're coming from. And I don't know what it is. When a difficulty I have is when someone asks me to describe someone. I always have a difficulty describing someone. I always pick up when I meet someone or see someone, I always pick up or maybe what they're wearing or, obviously the features of if they're tall, small, or, the color of their skin, everything else. But I always find if Lauren says, that person that should describe them, I find it really difficult to. And I think it's because I connect in a slightly different way. And I think it comes in line with what you're saying. I think there's things going on when we meet each other, when we're in closer contact in the same vicinity each other that we don't even understand. Body language and just stuff we don't even yet have names for. We don't even comprehend yet. I think there's things going on, and I would like to think I'm sort of connected to that more so than just the visual or even the verbal connection. Like I go away at times with my brother and we'd travel to Cornwall, for instance, to go swimming, to go surfing. And we could be journeying for like 5 hours and we could quite comfortably sit there for a couple of hours without speaking to each other, but there is a conversation constantly being had. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, an energy exchange. I think energy is the word that's currently would be used for it. But I agree when you say there's stuff that we just don't know about yet. And I think we're really experiencing at the minute where we're just not interacting with people the same way we would. But yeah, I really experienced that. I know what you're saying.
A chemistry of energy. There's a
Mm.
chemistry as well, isn't it? Quite often that's spoken about between a man and a woman or people in love, don't they? A chemistry. And I don't mean just that. I mean, there's something more that goes on, I believe, face-to-face interaction. And look at the animal kingdom. They don't all necessarily have a chat, do they? Or how are you doing today, Fred? There must be more things than we can even comprehend going on there as well.
Yeah, I guess that's where kind of our advancement is going to, in some ways, be our detriment because we are by nature a social animal. We're a tribe animal. We're meant to live in, small groups and collectives, and we're meant to have mates. And all of this technology allows us to kind of artificially maintain that stuff without the reality of being in the same, occupying the same space. And I think that in some ways is going to do a lot of damage. In some ways it's
Yes.
beautiful, isn't it? Because, we had Jackie
Convenience.
Tension on from the States the other week. We wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for the technology at hand.
Yes.
But in these aspects, it's like where people are having full on relationships and stuff like that. And it's just basically all virtual rather than being in a physical space. And I think we got to find a spot in the middle somewhere, because I think
I think
it's at the minute it's leaning the wrong way.
it comes back to that word again that we've mentioned many times, that balance, isn't it? All of these things aren't bad, and it's something to talk about with the whole David Attenborough thing when you watch it as well. All these things aren't bad. It's just finding a balance with it all.
Yeah, it's sometimes easier said than done, though, isn't it? Because a lot of these technologies, we spoke about this the other week, how addictive they are designed, not how they are, but designed to be so on purpose. It's like the powers that be don't want us to be balanced, so it has to be very much a personal decision to introduce those boundaries. Because I think if you just let the device or the app do its thing, it would quite happily all consume you, because they make money off of your attention. The more time you spend on something, the more money they make in advertising and all the rest of it. So I think it's a very much a personal decision, or it has to be a personal education to know when enough is enough.
Yeah, there's no regulation, is there? Is
No.
there? There's no regulation to social media. Obviously, the content I would like to think is regulated stringently and things like that, but the exposure to the content that might be regulated, that exposure is not regulated, is it?
No, that's the issue with how quickly it's all come along, isn't it? Because
Yes.
we were talking in the last 10, 15, 20 years, it's exploded. And, when Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook, I'm sure he never in a million years fathomed it would be what it is today. He was just trying to think of a way of communicating between friends. And now he's one of the most powerful and influential men on the planet. And it's like he never intended to wield that power, but yet here he is. And he now has a responsibility, as far as I'm concerned, to wield it with a level of responsibility, to do it, do it justice, because it affects people. And, we're seeing it now, depression, anxiety, all of these things are just on the up. Suicide. We spoke about suicide last week. It's a bit of a mad one.
Yeah, crazy. I'll share, you went camping a few weeks ago, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
I'll share what Lauren and I did this week. We had a voucher for cool stays, and I forget what it was called. Childness Woods, I think it was called. The Red Kite in just below Brecon. Childerness, I'm being corrected by my wife there. Childerness, the Red Kite Barn. It's just south of the Brecon Beacons in Wales, middle of Wales, and there we rented a tent pod. Think of Ewoks. And living in the trees, you're not far off of it. So we arrived literally middle of nowhere, and walked down across the little wooden bridge across the stream, and then the actual tent, it's got a structure, but it's big enough to sleep like a double bed in there, so two people could sleep in there. It's got a little wood burner, and it's completely suspended in a pine forest. Wow. A little wooden walkway onto a wooden platform where there's an outdoor kitchen with, running water, as in a sink, and, workstation area, an outdoor shower with its own heater, and then up on the top into the woodlands there's a toilet, and then they built right down next to the stream underneath a little patio veranda, so you can sit next to the stream and have like a little fire there and that as well. And we had 2 nights there, and it was absolutely great. It was absolutely lovely, and like it,
Sounds
you know,
awesome.
by the time the sun went down, completely dark. There's just not a ounce of light anywhere. You can just hear the stream running, and yeah, I just love it. That was just so me. I just love being disconnected and it's like I would like to spend more time just living like that outdoors, just simplified. Yeah, it was really great.
Yeah. That's definitely an objective for me going forward, is to spend more time doing things like that and more time detached from ones and zeros and ones. But yeah, that sounds very cool, because that's kind of somewhere in between a bit of camping and
they refer to it as glawning, like glamorous
glamping.
camping. Yeah, that's the one, because you've got a flushing toilet, you've got running water, you've got a hot shower, but it was all still on a wooden structure, and it was all still outdoors, and you are under canvas in a 1 or 2 person tent. It's and in the middle of nowhere. There is no local shop. Like, we walked, I think it was 2.5 hours to get to a post office. That was like an old school post office, and that's like the closest thing that you had.
Yeah, it slows things down. That's what I find. It's nice to slow things down, because then one day you can get through a day and you like wake up, and before you know it, you're getting back into bed, because so much has been going on and you've been so busy. But I think when there's a day and when you're in a space where so little is happening, you just get to appreciate the little things so much more, because there's not so much distraction pulling your attention every which way.
Yeah. And like the sheep were a novelty, and that was great. Where usually on a busy day you drive past and you wouldn't even take note of them, and you know that was a proper giggle the whole time, because they're just like, oh, run away. It's like, what's all of that about? I had written down this week, ads. I don't know if we'll be opening a can of worms with this, like we did with the films and a never-ending story. Sweets. Where are you at with sweets and confectionery?
This is another topic where I think we're going to be quite polarized into each other. I like sweets. Recently, due to my wife being a pastry chef, I'm very much into pastry. So croissants and things like that. That's kind of been my bag just through, I'm the official guinea pig for her cooking.
Eat this.
Yeah, but in terms of like confectionery sweets, not so much, and never really has been, like, since childhood, and I couldn't tell you why, but I know that you're a big sweets man.
Yeah, that's partly why I brought it up. I thought, you know what, I don't recall sharing a bag of sweets with you. I don't recall, and to me that's like quite a big deal. And it's okay,
but I would know why, because I would never have been like, oh, can I have one of those? Oh, what you got there? Because it just, they never catch my, I don't turn my nose up to them. If someone gives me a sweet, I'll eat a sweet. But if I've got a little bit of change in my pocket and I walk into a shop, that's probably not the thing that I'm going to pick up just for personal choice.
I walk into a shop just to buy sweets.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. I tell you one thing we did do. We went and got I'm trying to remember the name. Black Death.
Yes.
You introduced me to that. And that's been my new favorite thing to torture people with ever since. Yeah. I think I've given about proper 10 different sweet. People.
I think they've come off the market now. I don't think you can buy them anymore.
No way.
So they're that.
Oh, that's
dangerous.
Yeah.
But going with puddings, for instance, as the sweet topic. When I go to a restaurant, the first thing I look at is puddings, because then I work backwards, because it's not a meal without a pudding. So when you were cooking with your dad, I bet you didn't cook a pudding, did you?
Wasn't even a consideration.
What's the point? What's the point? There's no point. I could quite happily. Well, we do on my dad's birthday, the anniversary of his birthday each year. We have I'm sure it's going to give us diabetes one of these years, but we have a pudding day. So 10th of November, all we eat is puddings for that meal. And
it doesn't make you feel sick.
I did 5. It was 5 or 6 last year we did. And I had to pause. I think before we went on to the apple crumble after whatever it was, I had to pause for about an hour, but got it done. And I've got a serious sweet tooth in that. Well, they used to call my dad two desserts Tony, because he used to always have 2 desserts whenever we go.
That's got to be the best mafia name ever.
Yeah, 2 desserts Tony.
I love it. No, I guess you said sweet tooth. I've got more of a savory tooth. So I would go for a packet of crisps over a packet of sweets, just because that's how my taste buds are programmed. That would probably be my preference.
Yeah, that's the same as Lauren, same as well.
Okay.
She's completely savory. She'll enjoy a sweet, but one of. Whereas,
so she'd go for the cheese board at the end of the
yes.
evening, more like, So we're the same in that sense. Yeah, so I think that's a thing. Some people are just more programmed to be sweet-toothed, aren't they, than other. I'm assuming the girls are all sweet-toothed.
Yes, they are. They are particularly so. I can remember when they were young, we would catch them eating butter out of the fridge and things like that. It's like, what are you doing? There's no sweets.
Favorite sweet?
This was like, we're putting a can of worms out there. Like,
gun to head.
Can I categorize it? Like, are we talking desserts and then chocolate bar? Because actual like confectionery, as in like hard-boiled sweets, packet sweets, I think come into another category. So I've got already.
All right, you're right. We have opened a can of worms. All right. So 1 confectionery, 1 chocolate-based sweet. And 1 dessert / pudding.
It makes me hungry. Okay, right. Dessert is my wife's apple crumble. Not just any apple crumble, but my wife's apple crumble, because it is the best apple crumble going. So any dessert, and you've got to always have cream, double cream, or triple cream if you can get it in the same bowl. But the ice cream or the custard always has to be in separate bowls. You can't mix that stuff. You shouldn't mix that stuff. So
hold on. You've got the crumble in a bowl. There's cream on the crumble.
Yeah, cream's cool, but like triple, thick cream. It's got to be on the crumble.
And then you've also got an ice cream or a custard on the side.
Yeah, if that's the option. Like we had it last weekend. We had the apple crumble, just the apple crumble and the cream. More than happy as a dessert. But quite often the option comes with a dollop of ice cream or custard. So if you are given the choice of all, then, if it's a Weller, delivering chef or, house, then it would be the apple crumble. You'd have a bowl of custard and a bowl of ice cream. Vanilla ice cream with the apple crumble as well.
Love it. Chocolate-based confection.
Is a Butterfinger.
Do
you know what Butterfinger is?
I do know. Yeah. We did a lot of time in the States. I'm a big fan of a Butterfinger.
Yeah,
good
Butterfinger.
Choice.
They have brought out packets now of like little ones and that, but the bar, there's something about eating the bar. Butterfinger is that's the chocolate.
And ye old sweet shop style.
That's a tricky one.
That's the hard one, right?
Because that chops and changes. So if we'd gone back 10 years, I would have said an aniseed twist. I'm quite a like of aniseed and licorice.
Oh, I'm not a fan.
So, but we know there's lots wrong with you, so it's fine. I'll just take that on the chin. But if we're going right now, I like a lollipop. I like a traffic lollipop. But if you're putting a gun to my head, I can only choose one in the shop right now, flying saucers.
Well, you see, now you've given these 3, and I'm quite upset to say that mine actually end up matching you pretty much sweet for sweet. So flying saucers is the only sweet where I have a nostalgia to it as a kid of trying to eat it about 10 different ways. I just realized there were so many ways to eat a flying saucer that they entertained me more than anything else. So I've got a fondness for those. When you said a Butterfinger, that like really took me back again to childhood and going to America, and it just being like, it was just chocolate times 10 in comparison to like what you'd get here. You have a Snickers bar here and it's nice, but you go over there and you have a Butterfinger, you're like, what numbers? And apple crumble has been my all-time fave dessert for the longest time. But for me, it has to come with custard. If it comes with anything else, I'm kind of like, meh, take it or leave it. But if it comes with warm custard, then I'm just like, you have done me well. I'm a happy man.
Happy man. Cool. Well, I'm glad that I'm glad that we've been able to share that and get that out there. I'm gonna go eat some pudding now and eat some sweets. But I am really really strict with myself now. Just from when we did that whole, we'll have to talk about it at some point, the sugar-free thing. Well, since doing that, I don't touch, unless it's been made, like sometimes the girls are doing brownies or whatever at home, unless it's been made and it's going to go off, then or traveling rules, then I don't eat sweets and chocolates and that during the week. I find that's a really good habit because you then enjoy it more at the weekend.
Again, it's the balance, isn't it? I think that's what it comes down to, because it can be more addictive than drugs for people. People have real issues with it.
Completely. You know, and it's again down to this just sheer abundance of it. Going back to what we were talking to at the start, isn't it? It's just too much choice and everything else.
And too easy. It's just too easy to get to. And again, that's our human programming, because when we were starving and just looking for anything, if we saw a beehive and got access to honey, that was just considered high calorie, and our brain would trigger us to say, go get it, go get it, go get it. And I think we've still got so much of that ingrained in us, but now it's not. You know, you ain't got to climb up a tree and get attacked by bees. Yeah, you just go buy the chocolate and eat the chocolate, but you get the same chemical responses in your mind as you would have. So it's dangerous stuff. But next week, David Attenborough, I'll have it watched, and we will get into it, because I could feel the passion off you through the screen.
Well, I'm not going to say any more. Let's bring that one up next week. But I've got a David Attenborough quote to finish, actually.
Oh, nice.
So we finish with our quote of the week. I wanted to read, first of all, what he said after this documentary, but I don't think I can do it justice, because as I'm reading it, I'm reading it in David Attenborough's voice, and I don't think I could do it justice. But I thought this was a really good quote because it's a bit more unexpected. There are some 4 million different kinds of animals and plants in the world. 4 million different solutions to the problems of staying alive. David Attenborough.
Nice. That's a good one.
Yeah, I really like that.
Well, it kind of vibes off of my one for this week. I've been reading some old Chinese, Japanese philosophy, going back to some of that stuff. So I've been reading some Lao Tzu, and this one is: the hard and stiff will be broken, the soft and supple will prevail. Which is kind of the original "be like water, my friend."
Yes. Be soft, flow, become the cup.
Make it work.
Till next week.
Pleasure, dude.
I'm going to go and find diabetes. And
nice one. I'll see you next week with diabetes and a conversation on give us the show again so everyone can go watch it, so we can all be talking about it on an equal playing field.
It's a life on our planet. The witness statement of David Attenborough. And after watching it, go watch it, and we'll pick up from where we left off next time.
Done. So guys, next time when you're coming to listen to us, make sure you've watched it, and then we're all on a even playing field when we sit down to get it done. Yeah, and tell us about these ones and zeros and numbers and anything else you could be in for. Or tell us your favourite chocolates as well, or if you're a bit odd like us and you don't like chocolates and sweets. And if your backpack is zipped or unzipped. Yeah, we'll have to get Ian on, won't we? Have a word about that. Yeah, for sure. Crazy, man. Should we just get him in for just like a 5 minutes? A 5 minute feature, ask what that is about, and then kick him out. Perfect. We'll do that. Well, have a good week, Az. Have a good week, all. Cheers, guys.